Now, our next question, so we've talked about authentic conversations and how those are buyer first, right? Like you said, my Not About Me t-shirt, we need to remember that it is always about them. I like to say that the new golden rule is that he who has the gold makes the rule. Value is in the eye of the buyer.
Mm-hmm.
You also talk about a shared playbook, which I hadn't heard this phrase before. I've heard of playbook, but not a shared playbook. What is it and why is it so important?
Yeah, it's so the point we just made, we sort of jumped ahead and covered it, but it's because it makes it easier to always go back to the buyer and then the customer why. And so the authentic conversations or authentic buyer journey, the reason it makes for a much better buyer and customer experience is they have consistency in the conversation with us. Don't get thrown over the wall like the technical engineer, the sales engineer isn't having a different conversation, because it all starts with, I'm demoing today for you because I understand from your AE, your sales rep, that this is what you're trying to accomplish. Is that right? And then when we hand off to customer success, we know why they're there and they don't have to re-explain it. And so this idea that we have shared ways of questioning and shared kind of success statements, it leads to a much more consistent customer and buyer and customer experience, which reduces friction for them and gets them more excited about talking to us. And we educate them quicker about how we can make them more successful.
I mean, there's nothing more frustrating as a buyer than having to feel like you need to keep repeating yourself because nobody seems to be actually listening or talking to each other. Like, that is the first and suremost way to destroy a buying experience completely, and customer experience for that matter. It still seems to be a struggle for so many. What do you find is getting in the way of them being able to have this shared playbook and open communication, both internally and with buyers?
Yeah, I think it's ultimately you need the go-to-market leadership. Starting with the sales and the success leadership in particular, but just to say, look, in a really noisy buyer environment, we need to be able to learn quicker from each other how we win. So the old world that you and I grew up in of kind of more heroic selling, right, where everybody could have their own way of doing things. The problem is that we don't learn what really is motivating our buyers and customers. So a shared playbook, a lot of what it means is we can now not only consistently talk to our buyers and customers about value, but we can actually learn from each other.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Well, I think it starts with a leadership commitment that says, if we agree that in the old world, if I pitch my product, I learn pretty quick. And a lot of times people say, oh, we don't need anything else. We have experienced sellers. The experience is the rear view mirror in an environment where you think of every company has probably 3 or 4 value props they sell around, and 5 or 6 key personas and 4 or 5 key segments they sell into. So you might have 30 or 40 different versions of a sales conversation to personalize value by value prop, by persona, and by segment. Only way you're going to do that well is by learning from each other. It's not your experience, but it's the shared playbook that helps you to personalize that's going to make you more successful.